Don't go. Please, don't go. Jungkook said, his voice cracked, and to his own horror, he felt tears welling in his eyes. Tae turned slowly, his eyes widening slightly as he saw the tears in Jungkook's big eyes, the way his hand trembled as it held on to him. For a moment, they stood there in silence, the air thick with unspoken words, with all the feelings they had both tried to bury. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to hurt you like that, Tae. I'm scared. Scared of feeling this way. Jungkook whispered, his voice barely audible. Tae's expression softened, just a fraction, but the walls around his heart were still up. You think that excuses everything. You think I'll just forget what you said, how you made me feel. Tae's voice was calmer now, though still laced with bitterness. No. Jungkook choked out, the tears finally spilling down his cheeks. I don't expect you to forgive me. I can't lose you. Not like this. Jungkook tightened his grip on Tae's wrist, his voice breaking with desperation. Tae stared at him for a long moment, the coldness in his gaze slowly melting as he saw the sincerity in Jungkook's tear-streaked face. But the pain was still there, lingering between them, a chasm that Jungkook wasn't sure how to bridge. I can't be someone you play with. I can't be the person you run to when you're lonely, then push away when you're scared. Tae said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. I know. But I don't want to play with your heart, Tae. I want you, but I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know anything. Jungkook whispered, his tears falling freely now. Tae's eyes flickered with something, an understanding, maybe, or a deep-seated sadness. He pulled his wrist free from Jungkook's grip, his hand lingering in the air between them for just a moment before he stepped back. Then you need to figure that out. Before it's too late. Tae said quietly. With that, he turned and walked out, leaving Jungkook standing there, tears running down his face, the weight of his own feelings crashing down around him. The past few days had been a blur for Jungkook, filled with regret, restlessness, and the aching need to fix what he had broken with Tae. Every time he passed the campus grounds, he saw Tae always surrounded by girls who clung to his every word, their eyes full of admiration. It tore at Jungkook's heart to see Tae so distant, not attending his lectures, not even sparing him a glance. He wanted to talk to him, to explain everything, but he didn't know how. Every time he thought about approaching Tae, the memory of that cold look from their last conversation held him back. The emptiness of Tae's seat during lectures haunted Jungkook. It was like a constant reminder of how badly he had messed up. He knew he couldn't keep avoiding the truth, but he didn't know how to fix it, how to tell Tae everything he felt. Then came the last day of Tae's weekly exam. Jungkook had watched Tae throughout the entire test, his heart heavy with guilt and longing. When the exam ended, Tae stood up from his desk, his usual composed expression in place as he gathered his things, ready to leave without so much as looking in Jungkook's direction. This time, Jungkook couldn't let it happen. He couldn't let Tae walk away again. His heart was pounding as he made a split-second decision. He followed Tae out of the classroom, quickly stepping ahead of him and closing the door before Tae could leave. since the classroom is now completely empty except for the two of them. The loud thud of the door slamming shut made Tae pause, and for a moment, there was silence between them. Tae turned around slowly, his eyes cold as he stared at Jungkook, crossing his arms over his chest. Now what? What do you want from me this time? Tae's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. Jungkook's breath hitched as he stood in front of the man he had been avoiding, the man who had captured his heart and soul in ways he couldn't even understand. The sight of Tae, so distant and seemingly unaffected, made his chest ache. He had rehearsed what he wanted to say in his mind so many times, but now, facing Tae, the words came out and unfiltered. I want you, Jungkook said, his voice trembling with desperation. His eyes locked onto Tae's, and for a second, he saw a flicker of something in those deep, dark eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it came. Tae let out a bitter laugh, his lips curling into a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. Oh really? But why? Why do you want me now? I'm still the little boy you rejected, Mr. Jahan, remember? I didn't magically grow into a big man in just a few days. Tae's words dripped with sarcasm and hurt. The harshness of Tae's words cut through Jungkook like a... And before he could stop himself, tears welled up in his eyes. His chest felt tight, and the overwhelming need to finally express everything he had been holding back poured out of him. I'm sorry. Jungkook choked out, the tears spilling down his cheeks. His voice was shaky, broken. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was scared. I was so scared of how much you made me feel. Tae, you're not a little boy, you never were. I was an idiot. Stupid even. I pushed you away because I thought it was easier, but it wasn't. I've missed you every single day, and seeing you with those girls, it killed me. I don't care about the age difference, I don't care about any of it. I want you. I want you, Tae. For a moment, the room was filled with the sound of Jungkook's quiet sobs. Tae stood there, his arms still crossed, but his expression softened as he looked at the man in front of him, vulnerable, crying, and so full of regret. Jungkook's tears were real, his emotions pure, and it tugged at something deep inside Tae, breaking through the walls he had tried to build around himself. Tae let out a small sigh before taking a step closer, his hand reaching out to gently cup Jungkook's cheek, wiping away the tears with his thumb. Shh, stop crying like a baby. I haven't moved on from you. I couldn't, no one else could ever be you. Tae whispered, his voice softer now, almost tender. Jungkook's eyes widened, his breath catching in his throat as he looked up at Tae in disbelief. I'm still yours, Tae murmured, pulling him closer, wrapping his arms around him and pressing Jungkook's face into his chest. The warmth of Tae's body, the steady beat of his heart, it was all so overwhelming, and for a moment, Jungkook just let himself fall into the comfort of Tae's embrace. Jungkook's tears soaked into Tae's shirt as he clung to him, his fingers gripping the fabric like he was afraid Tae would slip away again. But Tae held him tight, his hands gently running up and down Jungkook's back, soothing him with each touch. Calm down. I'm here now. But if you ever call me a little boy again, I'll do something that not even a big man could handle. Remember that. Tae continued, his tone taking on a slightly mischievous edge. The intensity in Tae's words sent a shiver down Jungkook's spine. He pulled back slightly to look up at Tae, his tear-streaked face flushed as he tried to process what Tae had just said. Before Jungkook could react, Tae leaned down, his lips brushing against Jungkook's ear, his breath hot and tantalizing against his skin. "I'll make sure you regret ever doubting me," Tae whispered, his voice low and full of promise. Jungkook's heart raced at the closeness, the heat between them building in the small, confined space of the classroom. Tae's hands slid down to Jungkook's waist, pulling him even closer, their bodies pressed together in a way that made Jungkook's head spin. "Tae," Jungkook breathed out, his voice barely a whisper, his emotions a chaotic whirlwind of longing, regret, and something deeper, something more dangerous. Tae smirked, his eyes dark and filled with something intense, something that made Jungkook's pulse quicken. "You're mine, sweetheart. You've always been mine. And now, I'm not letting you go. Also, you deserve to be punished for hurting my feelings by calling me little boy," Tae said in a deep husky voice. Jungkook's breath hitched as Tae's lips brushed against the corner of his mouth, teasingly close but not quite touching. The anticipation made his heart pound, the heat between them almost unbearable. Tae's grip on his waist tightened, and for a moment, the world around them disappeared, leaving only the two of them, locked in this moment of tension, desire, and unspoken promises. The intensity of Tae's gaze burned into Jungkook, making him feel weak, vulnerable, and utterly captivated. "I'm not the boy you can push away, honey. And I'm going to make sure you never forget that," Tae whispered, his lips coasting over Jungkook's. With that, Tae finally closed the distance between them, capturing Jungkook's lips in a searing, possessive kiss that left no room for doubt about how serious he was. It was passionate, intense, and full of all the emotions they had both been holding back for so long. The kiss sent a wave of heat through Jungkook's body, making him melt into Tae's embrace, his fingers tangling in Tae's hair as he kissed him back with equal fervor. This was no longer about fear or hesitation. It was real, and burning was the need they both had denied for too long. As the kiss deepened, Tae pulled Jungkook even closer, his hands sliding up Jungkook's back, pressing him firmly against his chest. "You're mine," Tae growled against his lips, the words sending a shiver down Jungkook's spine, making his knees weak. Jungkook could only nod, his breath coming out in ragged gasps as Tae's lips trailed down his jawline, leaving a burning trail in their wake. He was completely at Tae's mercy now, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Tae's lips moved from Jungkook's jaw to his neck, where he paused for a moment, his breath against Jungkook's skin. The feeling was electrifying, and Jungkook's hands gripped Tae's arms for support, his breath hitching as Tae's lips grazed the sensitive spot just below his ear, and then kissed him deeply on the lips again, which made him breathless. When Tae finally broke the kiss, Jungkook's lips were swollen and glistening from their heated kiss as he tried to catch his breath. His chest rose and fell rapidly, his blue eyes wide as he looked up at Tae, who smirked with a dangerous glint in his gaze. Tae tilted his head, his thumb brushing over Jungkook's cheek. "Do you still dare to call me a little boy, huh?" Tae asked, His voice deep and husky, sending a shiver down Jungkook's spine. Before Jungkook could stammer out a reply, Tae leaned down and bit gently on his lower lip, tugging at it just enough to make Jungkook gasp. The sting was fleeting, replaced almost immediately by a tingling sensation that made Jungkook's knees feel weak. "Tae, no, I won't." Jungkook stuttered, shaking his head quickly, his wide eyes pleading as Tae's lips trailed to his neck. Tae smirked against Jungkook's skin, placing a teasing bite just below his ear. "Are you sure about that, sweetheart? Because I'd hate to remind you like this again. Also, I'll make you regret it so hard. You know what I mean, right?" Tae murmured, his warm breath fanning across Jungkook's neck. Jungkook's cheeks heat up at Tae's words. His breath hitched. He shook his head more fervently, his voice trembling. "What? No. I'll never call you that again, Tae. I swear." Satisfied with the answer, Tae leaned back slightly, his smirk widening as he took in Jungkook's flushed face and trembling form. He ran a finger lightly over the red mark he'd left on Jungkook's neck, his touch both soothing and possessive. "Good. You're learning, honey," Tae said, his voice dripping with amusement. Jungkook's cheeks burned, his heart racing as he hesitantly looked up at Tae, who seemed so confident, so commanding. His lips parted, the question spilling out before he could stop himself. How are you so experienced at this? Is this really your first time?" Jungkook asked, his voice small and hesitant, but the curiosity in his gaze was unmistakable. The question made Tae's playful smirk disappear in an instant. His expression darkened, and his jaw clenched as he grabbed Jungkook's chin, not harshly, but firmly enough to hold his attention. His intense gaze locked onto Jungkook's, the weight of his emotions crashing over both of them. As he finally spoke. "To be continued. Thanks for watching, puffballs. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and share. Also subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to never miss any updates.